Thanks so much for being here.
Yes.
My question is, how does forgiveness of oneself and of others aid in the law of attraction and the law of allowing?
In light of what you've been hearing us rampage on here this morning, we have to say to you that forgiveness doesn't fit in very well with the art of allowing, because you got to dig up what you're forgiving. The strange thing about forgiveness, it doesn't have to be this way, but it often is that when you hear people talking about forgiveness, they're usually talking about what they're forgiving. Oh yeah, it's a terrible thing she did to me. But I forgive her. And what happens is anything that you give your attention to activates in your vibration. So if something has hurt you and you're working to forgive it, you are activating it. Forgiveness is almost exactly the same. In fact, we would say it is exactly the same as saying, I'm going to deactivate this thing that hurt me. And we would say the reason that it doesn't go very far and the reason that people struggle so hard with the idea of forgiveness is because they keep digging up the stuff they don't want and keeping it active in their vibration so that they have a stream of people they have to forgive. They forgave their mother for what she did and kept it alive, and then they had to forgive this lover and this lover and this lover and this lover. And every day it's an eternal quest to forgive. And we say, why not just let it go and activate something that doesn't need forgiving? Any person is like a microcosm of the universe. They have within them things that you adore and things that you would rather not see. And if you are forgiving some of the stuff you don't want to see, you're keeping it active so it becomes a bigger part of the personality that that person is giving to you. But if you ignore that by activating the things that you appreciate, oh, that's a whole other thing. So we would give forgiveness a new definition. We would say the ultimate way of forgiving is really forgetting. And the ultimate way of forgetting really is by remembering something you want to remember.
Great. Thanks.
Yes, indeed.
Abraham, I'm having a very good time already. And it's been really fun to see the light around you and Jerry's head. And I can see that that's where the people got the idea in the Middle Ages that painted the halos around people's heads. It's really cool. Well, I've been having a really interesting time with my mother's passing in January. And I was there. And it ended up to be a very, very powerful and beautiful experience. This certainly was the intention on her part and my part, and I think the others too. And when my mother passed into Nonphysical, we had some amazing things happen. The family came together in unity. We had a beautiful service. It was happy. Mother's presence was so there. And I want very much to continue to activate that kind of unity and that kind of feelings in the family. And
it's interesting. Death does that. And you may really laugh at this, and certainly we are giving you and your family more credit than this, but we really want to talk about this, because this is why that you just described almost always happens around someone's death. You almost force yourself to look only at their positive aspects during that time.
Yes. Yeah, really.
There's something about somebody dying that just almost forces you to release how you really feel about them. Think about what happens. Everybody leaves their job for at least that day. Often they travel to another place. They leave their telephone. They tell everyone, don't bother me. I'm going to a funeral. It's almost like going to virtual reality. In other words, I'm going to this place where I'm not going to think normal thoughts that I think. And furthermore, I'm not even hardly going to be able to allow myself to think a negative thought about that person, because that feels like ultimate disrespect. And now they're dead, they'll probably hear me. The reason that very often around these funerals that there is that feeling of family is because you are literally imbued with the spirit of Source, because the nature of the celebration has caused you to do the things that we want you to do every day anyway. In other words, if you really want to make friends with everybody you know, pretend you're at their funeral.
I hadn't thought of that before.
Don't tell them. It won't go over well. They'll say to you, "You seem like you like me so much better now." "Yes, I pretended you were dead." But you get the sense of what we are talking about.
You really got that, yes.
Yes.
That's a very good help to me.
Yes.
Well, it seems like that I'm being urged by my inner being to take off from here for a while and go live in Washington. And I got a couple of brothers that I really want to connect with. I have a lot of struggle over the thought of doing that. And yet it doesn't feel good to sort of settle back in here. I've been away.
Well, you see, here's the reason we think that that's amplified within you.
Okay.
We think that around the passing or reemergence of your mother, that there was this feeling of relief as you were able to release or deactivate some things that had been activated. Mm-hmm. And so it feels like sort of a mending has taken place that feels like relief. And so now there's a part of you that wants to continue that trend. In other words, but really, that's why the first question was such a good one in leading up to what you're talking about, because that idea of forgiveness is a good idea. It just doesn't work out very well usually in the process of it. You don't have to go anywhere in order to reframe the vibrational basis of any relationship that you have. And we're not encouraging you not to go. You say it's an urging, and usually that kind of an urging is something that your inner being is aware of that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. We're just wanting to offer you just a little soft soothing that says everything is just fine. Mm-hmm. And don't work too hard in trying to dig up old relationships and transform them, because many of those old relationships are just fine right where they are, not active in your vibration. You just don't have to go back and fix everything that you've lived. All that you have to do is live now intentionally, you see.
Yeah. I get that distinction.
Yes.
I think I'm complete.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Hi, Abraham. Thanks for the humor. I think it's really helps us listen. This leading edge teaching that you referred to, is it leading edge for Abraham also?
Yes, leading edge for all of us. You are the leading edge, and your asking is what brings forth answering.
Okay. Why did you choose USA now, United States of America in this time, to bring this to us?
Well, it is not limited to this. It is just where the questions are formulating. In other words, Jerry and Esther have a lot to do with that, because Jerry has the most to do with that because he was asking powerful questions. And Esther was in the place of allowing, and so it began in that way. And then as they allowed exposure to more, now it has become quite a nucleus of asking. In other words, thousands of people listening on a weekly basis and coming along with the augmenting and amending the questions. And so it just becomes powerful. But Abraham is not limited only to answering here and now.
Was it us wanting it now, or was it Abraham wanting to bring it now?
There is only law of attraction, and so it is your asking that is bringing forth the answers. But it is desire on the part of all of us. It's like as you stand in your physical shoes and you imagine a happy future, you literally give birth to the idea that calls you to it. And so, in like manner, we from our non-physical have given birth to the idea of you, which is now vibrationally calling us back forth. And in the way we would really like you to hear this, there can be no separation really between the physical you and the non-physical you. You are the physical you and Abraham is the non-physical you, and we are also integrated together. But it is your leading edge experience that is producing the leading edge question.
So you're learning with us as we're going along?
We are expanding with you and knowing as we go. And we would call it learning as well. That which you call God is never complete, expanding. And the only instance where that would not be true is in the case of true death, where there is nothing more, and there is not any of that.
Okay. Switch subjects?
Certainly.
A little bit. I think, in listening to you, we've come to, or I have, to grips that there is no death. But the hardest part, I think, for myself or others, is when you have the physical death and you lose that individual. You can appreciate, or I can appreciate, that person is fine and that person is living forever and the soul is everlasting. But the missing part is the relationship with that physical person. And my question would be, I guess, twofold, is how to help us perhaps deal with missing the physical relationship in physical life. And also the next question would be, are we able to continue to have a relationship with that individual when we become non-physical?
Yes. In fact, you don't have to wait until you become non-physical in order to have it. Let us answer the first part of your question first. Esther's daughter and her daughter, little Kate is 6 months old now, are at the office in San Antonio, and Esther is with Jerry on the road. And they are not dead, but they are not with her. So she can choose to miss them, which is very unpleasant, or she can choose to think about them, which is very pleasant. Now Tracy is a grown woman with her own child and family. Esther sometimes will say to Jerry, I miss Tracy when she was 2, because she is clearly not 2 or 5 or 10. And yet there were so many sweet, lovely, co-creational experiences that Esther loved then that now are not possible because Tracy has matured into a different personality. So Esther can choose to miss what she was or enjoy what she is. And we're wanting you to reach the place of knowing you can do that even when someone has reemerged into non-physical. You can miss what they were or remember what they were with pleasure, or acknowledge who they are and enjoy what they are with pleasure. But in every case, it's about you deciding how you want to feel. And this question really helps us to emphasize where we began here today, which is most humans don't want to set their own tone. They want to observe something that sets it. So we only ever hear you say you miss those that made you feel good when they were here. Those that made you feel bad when they were here, you say, I don't miss him. It's all about your individual focus, your own individual determination first of how you want to feel, and then looking for something that matches that. If your quest is joy, and you really, really mean it, then you start looking past, present, and future, dead or alive, physical or non-physical, for things that feel good when you find them. But if that's not your intent, and you're looking anywhere and everywhere, then you can stumble upon plenty, whether they're dead or alive, that does not feel good. Missing is about, oh, here it is. You know what you're really missing? That feeling of missing, what it is missing out on the connection with who you really are because you chose a thought that disallows the fullness of who you are. That's what missing is. So next time you say, I miss someone, say, and because I miss that someone, I'm now missing my connection with who I am. Yes. Some glorious, visceral, emotional experiences happen to physical friends as they connect with their dearly departed. Esther has had some of the most intimate, loving feelings with dead friends that far surpassed anything she lived with them when they were sitting across the breakfast table together. You see, it's not about anything other than the vibration that you choose. Yes?
Slightly different subject. I work with a gentleman who is a healer, and he was a Catholic priest for 25 years, has now left. But he still works and he uses the words, we're limited by our language, but he uses the words of calling in Holy Spirit to do the work. Is that source energy? Are there different layers within that get pulled in? Is it all?
Not different layers, and any
words?
old word will do.
Yep.
The reason that we do not usually speak the words unless someone else has referenced them and is more comfortable with them is that when you use a word like Holy Spirit, to those who have achieved a certain vibrational relationship with it, and it is your goal to take them to a new understanding, it's hard to take them to the new understanding because you activate within them what they already think about it. However, sometimes those words are necessary to make bridges, because if you get too far from where a person is, they can't make the jump either.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.